Good morning. You're very welcome to join me on my daily prayer walk. I'm about 25 minutes in and I'm approaching the lowest point in the walk. Not in the sense of my spirits or my energy, but in terms of altitude. Let me just stop and show you where I am. So I'm just turning around. You'll see up above the tree line that marks the railway track, and then to my left hand side, if I can just backtrack a little, you'll see the horse field going down towards the river. But in front of me you may see some puddles on the road, which it hasn't been raining too much, but which show that this is a low point. The water comes down off the fields and it often gathers on the road. So let me show you the particular difficulty that there sometimes is. Because the road is so low, it floods, and there are big potholes to one side of the road, and sometimes there's absolutely no way through unless you're prepared to do a little bit of paddling. It's wonderful actually, because it must seem as if I'm walking on the water, because I've found that, let me show you again, that the middle part of the road here is just slightly higher than the bits to either side, and the bits to either side can sometimes be inches of water deep, but in the middle it's only about 1 inch deep, which is fine. It must look like I'm walking on the water to anybody else. Perhaps I should take a photo of myself. The trouble is though that my boots are now getting fairly old, and you may be able to see that there's a big hole in them, so they don't really do the job anymore, and I've actually got some more boots on order at the moment. So yes, my plod is a fair weather plod most of the time, unless I really want to be uncomfortable. We are engaged in a plod, if we follow the daily lectionary, through John's Gospel. It just started on Monday and it'll take us all the way through to the end of August. And the passage for today is John 3, verses 1 to 17. Now this is a passage which often gets caught up in all the thoughts about being born again, for it's Jesus' conversation with Nicodemus. Unfortunately, sometimes people make that some kind of yardstick whereby they judge whether somebody is in or whether they're out. Same goes for the other usual focal point, which is John 3:16, that famous verse that says that God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not be lost to death, but have everlasting life. You sometimes see somebody holding up a sign behind a politician or sports star's head that just says John 3:16, as if that's the crux of it all. That's the tick box clause that you've got to sign up to in order to be proper. But I'm pleased that our reading today actually takes us into the next verse as well, which says, after that verse that starts with saying God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, it goes on in verse 17 to say, and God sent his Son into the world not to condemn it, but that through him all people might be saved. As always with Jesus, it's an expansive embrace. It's a wide-reaching compass. It's an inclusive community. that he wants not to force people into or shun people away from, but to embrace and love them into. It takes even more point to me that the word in Greek is cosmos, means the people who reject God in a lot of Jesus' sayings in John's Gospel. It takes extra force, therefore, that when it says God so loved this world, the world that rejects him, that he gave his only son, not to condemn that world who so despise him, but that through him that very world might be saved. It's, in other words, a message about the amazing and astounding love of God that we so often cannot match or even reflect in our actions. That's a challenge. And so, when we look at the world around us and the way in which we interact with it, or don't, in this sort of bubble mentality that we presently find ourselves in, where we tend to be wary of others, feel a little bit more threatened by them maybe, we're being called to reflect that wider love of God, which speaks about inclusivity, about all lives mattering, about the people who are trying to survive the cyclone that hit Bangladesh a month ago that Christian Haid highlighted for us, about them, about the people in North Korea who seem so belligerent towards everybody else, about the people who upset us because they get a bit too close and invade our 2-metre space around us, about the way in which we want to be church in a world that seems open and questioning and not as condemnatory as maybe we seemed at one point, because we seemed so aloof. I hope that we can rise to that challenge. I hope that we'll take seriously John 3:17 as well as the bits that go before it. It may seem a daunting task. So I want to finish by inviting you to pray with me the prayer that my hero St. Francis prayed when he received his call from God to rebuild God's church. Let us pray. O God, to you be all the praise and all the glory. Shine your light into the dark places of my heart and give to me a true faith, assured hope, overflowing love and deep humility, with a heart always sensitive to the needs of others and a mind that discerns what is true, that I might fulfill your holy will. I hope that we, unlike my boots, may be up to the job. God bless you.